Welcome and happy Friday or happy Tuesday or happy whatever day of the week it is that you're watching this video. I am so excited to see all of you today, and if you're here live, you are in for a real treat because honestly, this is, of all the topics that I could cover that is in my wheelhouse or in my realm, today's topic is one of my absolute favorites. And had you checked in with me like 5 years ago to see where I was at on my spiritual journey, I would have a very different answer. I was still living in the box. I was still living in the matrix, if you will. Also, if you haven't watched that movie lately, if you have not watched The Matrix lately with Keanu Reeves, after you watch this live, go and find that movie because it will make so much more sense. Your mind will be blown, and it's a really good movie to watch if you're kind of on this spirituality path and if you're starting to awaken and realizing the way in which the world really works and if you're ready to take the blinders off. So if you're here live, say hi in the comments. This energy level is high. Very, very high, but it's because I'm excited and it's Friday and I get to see you guys and I'm wearing another striped shirt. I actually realized as I put this on today, like, man, I wear a lot of striped shirts. I'm over here like the Hamburglar, but today is my sailor shirts. It's different, okay? It's different. It's not Hamburglar, it is sailor. Anyways, that's not the point of this. Anyways, if you're in the comments, say hi. If I don't get to them, it's because I always have issues with seeing them. Oh, hi, Shannon. Hi, Lillian. Hi, Heather. Okay, I see some comments. Woo! Let's get this started, shall we? Today we are talking spiritual awakening. Last week we talked about the dark night of the soul, which is this kind of deep period of helplessness, of hopelessness, of not knowing where to turn or what to do or where to go or which way's up. You're reassessing all your values, everything you hold dear, nothing makes sense, blah, 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 blah. The list goes on and on. So we talked a lot about that. So if you haven't seen that piece of the puzzle, check that one out because it's step one. So as we go through that dark night of the soul period, at the end of it, you begin to transition away from this feeling of helplessness. You start taking the blindfolds off. You start questioning and realizing the way in which the world truly works and what you can create. And then you go into this period of spiritual awakening, which is what we are discussing today. So I can't even believe I made notes for this, but without notes, they're like my crutch. I just have to have them. So I'll pull them up, Let's get going, shall we? So I always encourage questions. If you have questions, drop them in the comments. If I don't get to them during the live, I will answer them personally right afterwards. So a word on the spiritual awakening piece. This happened to me. I went through a dark night of the soul and I came out in a spiritual awakening. And all of this was triggered by my therapeutic journey. That is why I truly feel, and I say this all the time, that there is such a connection between going through talk therapy and starting to explore your feelings and emotions and reconnecting to your soul, the very essence of who you are. It is only natural that an organic spiritual awakening is going to happen because as we connect more to the soul evolves, you evolve, and your mind starts to really shift and change, and your perspective and the way in which you view this world, the lens through which you view it begins to shift naturally. And that is why this is so important. And I know I say this to everybody so often, that I wanted to create my own practice where I help women that are ready for change, that are ready to stop waking up on repeat, that are ready to put themselves first and start shifting and reconnecting back to who they are. I created my practice to be able to do that while embedding and infusing the spirituality piece and having an understanding about what is transpiring, because so many emotions come up when we go through this. So much is happening, and having a practitioner that is very aware of what's going on a soul level is so huge, and it's a breath of fresh air. Lillian says, thank you, I needed this really bad. I hear you, I was there. I know what this is all about. So the spiritual awakening is a natural byproduct of reconnecting and remembering who we are. And I say remembering because your soul is born knowing exactly who it is. It's come to this earth plane knowing exactly who it is, what it's meant to do, why it's here. But as we go through life, things happen. We are conditioned, like we have our parents that are telling us how the world is. We have schooling that's telling us how the world is. We get, beaten down by certain challenges that we come to in our life, and we become disconnected and we forget who we came here to be. And our sole purpose in this life is to remember who we are, to excavate and peel away and rediscover who we are on a soul level. And that is what spiritual awakening is about. So you are probably here because you felt I need my heart is racing. I'm so excited. I need to give my brain a minute to catch up to my words. But you are here because you've spent the majority of your life focusing on the accumulation of things in order to feel something. And let me know in the comments if this is you. If you have spent your life maybe accumulating goods, trying to fill a hole in your heart with stuff, with a job, with a career, with purses or bags or shoes or whatever, hats, whatever it is. If you have been in the accumulation of things in hopes that they will make you happy, that's probably why you're here, because you've begun to discover that that is not the thing that's going to make you happy. That is not what is going to fulfill your life in the way you hoped it would. And it's the same with your goals. Maybe you thought your major goal in life had to be to get the job, to climb the corporate ladder, to have the Porsche, to have the nice house, the picket fence, and all of these things. And then, even if you have those things, even if you have that life, you're still not happy. And you can't quite figure out why, because you're like, wait a minute, okay, I have all the things. Everyone's like, man, I wish I had your life. It's amazing. But you still feel empty inside. You're kind of like, why? Why do I still feel this sense of emptiness? Why? Because you're putting the focus externally as opposed to internally. And that's why we're all here. So maybe at this point, and I know this is happening to a lot of people, especially with all the isolation that's been happening and what's been going on in the world, you're beginning to question the narrative, because there is always a narrative that we are being fed in this life, whether it's through social media, news outlets, again, parents, friends, colleagues, peers. Everywhere we go, there is a narrative somebody is trying to force upon us, or trying to show us that it's what reality is. And if you're beginning to question and wonder if what you're being told is actually true, you could be on this brink of a spiritual awakening, because that questioning period is always kind of what comes first before this happens. So, for example, we live in a consumerist based world, a very materialistic world, if you will. And think about what you see on commercials. Think about, like, even for women especially, I know all of you can probably relate to this, diet pills, magic pills that'll make you happier, trying to reduce the size of your body, clothing, makeup, skincare. Women have it all. And they're all showing us these images to say, these are the things that are going to make you happy. This is it. This is what it's going to take. That is the media trying to feed you a narrative, trying to tell you that things are the key to happiness. But truly, the question then becomes, is this actually the case? Shannon says she always felt like she had to seek. Trust me, Shannon, I hear you. Let me look you in the eyeballs. I've been there too. And a lot of people that are going to watch this live, and a lot of people it's going to resonate with, are feeling the same, that they've always had to seek for something. They've always been looking for something and trying to find it, And as you grow and as you learn and as you question, you begin to recognize that you cannot find happiness externally. It is so deep within you. It can't come from things, people. It can't come from a partner. It needs to come from right here in your heart space. And spiritual awakening reconnects you to that heart space in a very, very, very deep way. And I'm still so excited. I'm feeling my own heart like just racing. Not out of nervousness, but out of excitement. Anyways, so 8-minute introduction. This is probably going to be a long one, but you know what? I don't care, because this has just got me so jazzed. So let's talk about the definition of a spiritual awakening. So I'm going to just read. It is a shift in consciousness, moving from the belief that we are all separate from one another. So I'm separate from you and you're separate from me, to that of unity, being in that we are all one as beings. You and me, together, we are the same. We are one and the same. We are unified. We are not separated or divided. But this world has tried to tell us and show us that there is division. And think of the havoc it's wreaked on this whole planet, if we really, really think about it. And if we all adopted this idea of unity, how much more peace there would be within and around us. So that's kind of the first piece of the puzzle. Number 2, to become spiritually aware of the universe and its direct metaphysical condition to one's own being and the connection it has to all forces. That's a Deepak Chopra quote specifically. So you're starting to become aware of this connection. You start to feel connected to rocks or to animals or to insects, and you realize we're all one in the same, all of us, unified. Number 3, a paradigm shift. Whoops, I almost had a swear there. That reconfigures the way you experience everything. So everything begins to change when you go through this spiritual awakening. Everything that you thought was true is now flipped on its end, but for the better. For the better, 100% for the better. Number 4, waking up out of the socially constructed self. That is, out of the belief that your thoughts, memories, self-images, or stories define, limit, or describe you. This is it. And this is when we talk about bursting out of that matrix, when we kind of tear down and remove all of what we've been defined by others by, and rediscovering and connecting to who we actually are. Think about how you define yourself for a minute. Is it based on your own feelings, your own thoughts? Is it based on introspection that you've gone through, this period of introspection where you've looked within and really discovered and defined who you are for yourself? Or is it based on other people? Is it based on somebody else telling you who and what you are? So to spiritually awaken is to strip all that away and to reconnect to the core. And I just love that sentiment. And I'm sure a lot of you, I know I can, have spent too much of our lives being defined by other people. Hands up, me for sure. So, and as we grow up, our perception of reality is socially constructed. And I mean, like, what else is there? We come into the world as a child, we have to be taken care of. We're shown the way by our parents. They give us values, they pass things down to us, they show us the way. We see how other people are doing things. We're very, very influenced by our surrounding. So our whole perception is based on other people. It's not based on ourselves. And it's not until we do enough deep diving and ask enough of those big questions and start doing our own research that we begin to realize that while some of that still may ring true, not all of it does. So to awaken spiritually is to take the blinders off, take off those sunglasses, to view the world and the majesty of the universe through your own lens. Take other people's sunglasses on, put your own on, and to recognize and reconnect to the inner workings of the world. And Lillian says, I'm a mother of 11 children, 4 boys and 7 girls, and I've never had much time for myself. 11. Wow. You are a busy mama. Come on. But we can chat afterwards about trying to make some space for yourself and trying to figure out how you can carve a little time just for you, because you deserve it, Lillian. You deserve time for yourself. Listen to me. You deserve it. Anyways, I'm feeling some type of way today, like I said. But yes, the spiritual awakening, you during that period, you begin to understand and notice how powerful you are in this world. We all sit around and think we have no power. We don't have the ability to change things in our own life. We don't have the power to make a difference. We're just little old me. And really, once we step into and recognize the power we have within us to manifest our own reality and how much power and how much control we actually have, everything changes. Everything changes. Your whole ability to navigate the world begins to shift when you recognize, I have power. I'm not little old Denise. I'm not little old Lillian or Shannon or Heather or whoever else is here. I am a soul, and I have the ability to have what I want, and that is a huge piece of this. And I'm just going to circle back to this unification piece, because the separation that's divided us for all of this time, and especially now, think about what's happening with COVID. We are being into a forced division, a forced separateness, and humans thrive off connection to one another, and it is because we are all one and the same. So now we're all being divvied up and and separated from one another, and it's having a huge impact, because we're meant to be together because we're all one and the same. And if we hurt another person, it is like hurting ourselves, and that's a big realization to have. So even I follow a particular individual named David Icke, and he always says, if you think about the fact that we're all unified, and then you think about the concept of war, it's like we're doing all of that, like we're at war with ourselves. And that's a profound way of thinking, because to be at war with other people is to be at war within, because we are one and the same. So it's very powerful, all of this. And when you start to realize this, and when you start to shift, everything in your life begins to shift along with it. And I want to give a practical example just for like a moment of what spiritual awakening is like. So imagine you go to a movie theater to watch, like, let's say even a horror movie, for example. When you're in that movie, you feel the stress of what's going on. You feel scared. You feel like you're a part of that reality. You're a part of that world. And it's not until the credits roll that you snap out of it. And you're like, whoa, wait a minute, that wasn't real at all. But what is real is this. So think of spiritual awakening like you've just finished a movie. Like you've come out of this movie and now you're really seeing things for what they are. You're not feeling what's going on inside of that reality. So it's just kind of like an example. You're watching the credits roll and you're recognizing the world for what it blah, 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 blah. It's for my friend Alexa if she's watching. That's her favorite thing to say, or her favorite set of sounds anyway. So and most people, to be honest, and I'm sure maybe you feel this way if you're on this live as well too, a lot of people think that spiritual awakening is unattainable, that it's meant for people like Jesus, Buddha, Mother Teresa, etc., Nelson Mandela, that it's unattainable, and only these people that are supremely enlightened can actually achieve this level of spiritual awakening. But that is not the case. It is available to all of us, to any of us, and it's our divine right to step into that. And I mean, if you think about some of the celebrities now that are out there, there's a couple actually that are at top of mind for me that are really exemplary examples of what it means to be awakened. Russell Brand, if you don't follow him on Instagram, you need to stop and follow Russell Brand, because I know he used to be a clown and he used to be a comedian, but he is so spiritually awakened and the things that he says are so profound. And he's just, I mean, yes, he was a celebrity, but really and truly, he's just like you and me. We're no different. He's just taken the blinders off, and so too can you. Jim Carrey is another excellent example. Follow him on Instagram too. I'm telling you, there's a lot of profound things going on in both of those accounts that are really powerful. Oprah, Deepak Chopra, Eckhart Tolle. I never know how to say his name, but these are all people that were regular people just like you and me, but achieved spiritual awakening. Heather says, I always see Russell's videos come up on YouTube. Yes, if you get a chance, watch them. He's very, very brilliant. Will Smith, yes, he's another one I'm actually seeing that's coming into this. And as you see, it starts to kind of take place later in your life, it's not happening when you're 20. I mean, maybe there are people that's happening to when they're 20 years old, but for the most part, it's like you've gone through a season or a period of your life where you've had difficult times and you've navigated challenges, and then when you come out of it, you're coming out a little bit wiser. But yes, Will Smith is definitely another one, Heather. He's got some cool stuff to say, and he does it in a very, very genuine way. So these are all examples of people that really have had this happen to them and are on the other side of it and are just now trying to use their platforms to show other people what it's like when you take the blindfolds off. And I'm probably going to review those and say blindfolds many, many times, because that's truly what we're doing. So you want to hear some signs that you're going through a spiritual awakening? I want you to hear them too, but first I have to get a drink because I'm talking a mile a minute. Whew. Okay, first things first, you recognize you've been living life on autopilot, and that is something I'm always talking about here in the group, and that's something I want to help women break. I want them to, stop living life on autopilot, because we wake up, we press play, okay, first things first, shower, brush teeth, get kids ready, and we move like robots. So as you come into this place of spiritual awakening, you recognize that you're living life on autopilot and you're not really living life at all. Your level of awareness increases and you're like, wait a minute, I'm just doing these same set of tasks, but what does that all even mean? Why am I doing it? What am I doing for myself, etc.? And you question what you believe in. Again, and if there are people that grew up in, in families where religion was a very big aspect, absolutely, maybe that still is very, very valid and it sticks with you and it's exactly what you believe. But maybe you're at a period where you're like, I think I need to look into this a little bit more. And that's okay wherever you are on either side of that spectrum. It's important to question if things don't feel right, to explore it a little bit further. And, you start to wonder as you go through this awareness, why do I feel I'm not good enough? And I went through this. I did not feel good enough for anything. I didn't feel good enough for my partner, for my blessings, for the house I had, for anything. I did not feel good enough. I did not feel worthy enough. And I'm sure all of you, or a lot of you, can really relate to this. And then as you awaken, you're like, but wait a minute, whoa, why don't I feel good enough? What makes me any different than anybody else? Why do I feel like I'm not good enough to have what it is I want in my life? That doesn't seem right to me. Where did this come from? And then so the exploration and the excavation begins. So your first step is you recognize that pattern and that life is on autopilot. Number 2, and we talked about this, connection versus division. You start to recognize and realize that we are connected all over the place, to each other, to the trees, to the crystals. I'm always pulling out my amethyst, to everything around us, to the soil. And one really cool thing that started happening to me is, as I started going through this period, is that I no longer wanted to kill spiders. before I would just squash them, do the things. I didn't think twice about taking the life of an insect. But as I came into this period, as I started asking these questions, I realized, who am I? That spider's just here living their life, Who am I to take that away from them? Who am I to play God for that spider? And now I can't do it. If I see an insect, I can't do it. I can't kill it. We need to capture and release. I can't take a life. It's not fair. And who am I to say that? But that's because I feel that peace, that connection piece, right? You begin to have more concern around the planet in this kind of second piece. Maybe you start looking towards sustainability and getting rid of plastics or single-use items and trying your best to bring your own bags to the grocery store because you have an innate recognition that we are all connected, and if we are connected to Mother Earth, we need to do everything we can to protect her, and that includes ensuring that we have a conscious mind when we are going into and consuming things in our day-to-day life, right? So it's another huge piece of it. And you begin to be mindful of who you're judging and why. I used to be very judgmental, and I'm not afraid to admit that. I would judge everybody. I would thrive off drama and talking about people and judging them for where they are in their life or where I thought they should be. But when you go through this awakening period, you start to question, wait a minute, why am I judging this person? Because so often the things we judge each other or judge other people for the most are a piece of ourselves that we are not comfortable with, or is a piece of ourselves that we need to deal with. So you become very mindful of your judgments and why you're judging people, and start to explore that further. Number 3, disengagement. What once defined you, oh my gosh, starts to evolve. Where once you would have felt validated by the consumption and accumulation of stuff, now you recognize that they can never bring you happiness. How you define yourself changes completely and entirely. So how you used to define yourself, or how people used to define you, that's no longer the case. You start to define yourself, and you start to kind of peel away those layers and determine it for your own. And you disengage from that label that other people have put on you. So if someone has labeled you as a whiner, I was labeled as a whiner when I was growing up, constantly. Don't whine, don't complain, you're always crying, blah, blah, blah. And I carried that with me. I carried that label with me. But as we awaken, we strip that away. I don't identify with that anymore. People can call me a whiner all they want, or a complainer, but truly I consider myself to be an emotional being that feels things very deeply. And that is the definition I've given myself. So disengage from what everyone has said about you or defined you as, and come up with your own definition. Number 4, you seek peace above all else. You are tired of the drama. And if you are a person that has called in a lot of drama in their life, or it surrounds you, or it's almost like something you thrive off of, it starts to just not do its job anymore. You want peace. You want to spend your time not engaging in toxicity and negativity. You want to have clarity of mind. You want to have peace in your heart and soul, and you become very aware of how you use your energy and what you choose to use it for, because energy is not infinite, friends. It is finite. So you have to be very careful what you engage in, and you become very aware of what you engage in when we go through this period of time, and you're no longer willing to spend it on negativity and toxicity. It just shifts naturally, and you don't have time for it. And this is going to piss a lot of people off. I don't typically swear here, and I don't really think that's such a big swear word, but it's gonna piss people off. They're not gonna like it. They're gonna want to fight with you, and they're gonna want to get in the ring with you because they haven't done their own work, but you just let it roll off your back. You're like, okay, I'm not engaging. I can't do it. This doesn't bring me peace, and all I want is peace. Step number 5, tapping into your intuition. Huge, huge, huge. Think about your intuition for a minute, my fine friends, because all of us have intuition. Even if you think you don't, you do. And our gut instinct tells us a lot. And if you think about a period of time in your life where you made a decision and your gut was telling you not to do X, Y, and Z. So let's say you made a decision, whatever, like you're going to get married at 25 to a boy you've known a month and a half. That's my personal experience. But my gut at the time was like, wait a minute, but I didn't listen. And now that's your intuition talking. Now think about a time where you listened to your gut and how different those scenarios were. But as we awaken, we become wildly aware of our intuition, and we start listening to it. We start understanding that it is sharp. it is trying to protect us. It knows what's best, and we have to listen in. So intuition is a huge piece of this, and you really come into that as you grow spiritually. Intuition is sharp. It is like my number one ally. I do everything based on my intuition. What I'm going to talk about, what I'm going to speak about, how I'm working with clients. I'm very intuitive in my strategy. And that's what works for me. But yes, it will sharpen. Number 6, synchronicity. And this, I love this. For example, as you go through an awakening, you start to see numbers that repeat, like 555, 444, 1212, 1111, 1010. They repeat. I've actually had a full day. I've had a couple of times where I've gone through a full day, and now I go by a 24-hour clock. So that, I should tell you that, where I saw every single number pretty well from the time I woke up until the time I went to bed. So imagine seeing 555, and then, like the next set of numbers, I guess, would be like at 10, 10, 10, 11, 11, 12, 12, 13, 13, 14, 14. And it was like that until the time I went to bed. These are all signs from the universe. These are what's called synchronicities. And they're little messages being like, you're on the right track. And you start to see them everywhere. Or you start to hear the same song 3 or 4 times a day. Those are messages. Yes, 9/11, Alicia's here. Yes, 9/11. Alicia always sees that one. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's another one that I see all the time. These are messages and signs from the universe that whatever you're doing, you're on the right track. Or it's a notation or an invitation to stop what you're doing and like listen in or think about what it is that's going through your brain. It's one of the two. Or the songs, for sure. If you hear the same song 3 or 4 times a day, if you have a song stuck in your head, listen to that message, because there's something there. And that is a synchronicity that allows you to know you're on the right track. Number 7, increased, look at that. Alicia, Shannon also sees 9/11 too. See? There you go. You both have the same messages coming at you. Number 7, increased empathy for self and others. You become highly empathetic. And when somebody wrongs you, if somebody does something to hurt you, it's almost like you can't even get mad anymore. Initially, you want to get your defenses up and be angry with them, but ultimately you say to yourself, wait a minute, what's happening in their life? What's going on their side that they feel so bad that they have to hurt me? And you start to have compassion for people and wonder how they grew up. Even when I watch like shows like Criminal Minds or things like that, and they show, the perpetrator or whoever is committing these heinous crimes, like I even find myself stopping and think like, what happened to that person? Because we're not born that way. I mean, maybe we'll have tendencies, but what happened to that person that made them who they are today? And you start to have a lot more compassion for yourself and for others. You find self-forgiveness much easier. You forgive yourself for not being on the right track or not being where you're supposed to be, or you think you're supposed to be. You have a lot more compassion. Number 8, you step into your worth. I talk about worthiness constantly here. You're no longer willing to abide by anyone else's rules. You recognize you're here to exist, that you're allowed to take up space in this world, that you are a person that is worthy of having whatever blessings it is that you want in your life. You step into that worth. You step into your power, and you recognize just how incredible and amazing you are. And that is freeing. After spending years and years and years feeling like I was nothing, man, it's so emotional to think about where I was to where I am now, because I'm so innately aware of the gifts that I bring to this world and who I am as a person and what I stand for. And it's just such freedom, and it brings about such confidence. So you too will get there. You too will get there. I know it. And if you're going through this, it's going to be amazing when you come out on the other side. And number 9, and my final one, is you wake up wonderful. And this is my way of just saying you wake up with gratitude. You wake up feeling excited about everything that life has to offer. You're excited about the possibilities. No longer are you waking up and thinking like, oh, another day, I can't believe it. And many of us can relate to having that feeling of waking up like that. But then you start to shift, and you just like jump out of bed, and you're singing, and you're excited, and you're just, so thrilled to see what comes next. And you're just generally happier. You want to connect to your purpose, your mission. You feel more driven by that, more fueled by that. And it's so beautiful and such an amazing experience. And I wish I could just like snap it for all of you, but I know there is work to get done. So these are kind of those 9 sort of things that begin to happen and begin to shift. And there are many more, but I wanted to, I can't be on here talking for 17 hours. It's not something I can do, although I could. Trust me, I could give a 4-hour lecture on this. But to kind of get through and navigate this period, take time for introspection, take time to be with you, take time to go out with a pen and a paper and just spend some time in nature, jot down your thoughts. Writing can be supremely cathartic. Talk to somebody that can relate to this, you know, laugh, dance, do something that brings you joy, let it out, spread the message, tell people what you're going through, share it with the world. You know, have gratitude for everything, be grateful for everything, even the challenging times, because in the most challenging of moments, you are meant to learn something, you are meant to take something from it and grow from it. So even have gratitude for things that seem challenging. Have gratitude for it all. Have positivity as much as possible and embrace whatever you can. And also take time to slow down. You know, it's nice to be joyful and happy and excited, but take time to slow down, engage in self-care, make space for you, make space for your personal evolution, and make space for this to happen, because I wish I could allow you to have the same experience that I had in this moment, but you have to get there for yourself. And when you do, I promise you it is worth every single minute, 100%. And, you know, I've talked a lot about my own experience with this and how it happened, and I'm a different person. I'll never look back. I'll never be the same, and I'm proud of who I am. So, whew. Shannon, I needed this. I love to hear this. Yes, I'm so thankful. And anyone that watches this, it's going to be because they needed to hear this, and they're on the precipice of their own awakening. And I just think that is wonderful. So if you are going through this period of time, if you are, you know, ready to go on your own spiritual evolution, let me know in the comments. Say, you know, heck yes, or whatever it is, let me know. And if you're ready to change your life, if you are ready to begin to shift, if you're ready to discover who you are again and step into who you truly are, not just who you're defined as, please reach out to me. Let's have a chat. Let's see. I mean, this is my passion. Showing women this journey is my passion. Providing transformation is what I'm meant to do. So if this resonates with you and you're ready and you need support, please reach out to me. Let's jump on a call. Let's have a chat. Let's feel it out. Let's see if this is something that's a good fit for you. And with all this to say, my friends, I went over, and I'm not even going to apologize, because honestly, this is such an important topic, and it's something that really, really speaks to my heart and my soul, and I wanted to share it with all of you. But yes, leave me comments, send me a message. If you are looking for support, let's chat about it, and I will see you guys next time. I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful weekend. Go out and enjoy the sunshine, get some introspection in. We'll see you soon. Bye.